She's all right when you get to know her. This is my podcast, and it takes you from your restrictive, toxic, life-limiting 9 to 5 into a life on your terms, full of freedom and flexibility as a self-employed virtual assistant. So whether this is your first introduction into the possibility of becoming a VA, or perhaps you've been doing a bit of Googling already, I'm going to get rid of the overwhelm, rid of the self-doubt, and show you that this life is possible. I've not just started this rodeo, you know. I'm Gladwyn, and I've been doing what you think is impossible since 2015. Shall we get started? Will AI replace virtual assistants? Okay, so here's the real answer. So I had this episode on my list of ones to record for quite a while, and then I got an email the other week and somebody asked me, do you think AI is going to replace virtual assistants? And my first response? Well, I'll tell you in this episode, because I'm going to be unboxing the truth behind AI, how it's shifting the VA industry, and why the best VAs aren't getting replaced. In fact, they're getting more in demand than ever. So let me just start by helping you understand something about AI that is an absolute myth. You might already know anyway, but it is not plug and play. You can't set up, say, a ChatGPT account and it suddenly starts writing blog posts for you. Well, it can, but they'll be shit anyway. But it can't suddenly start writing your social media content in your tone of voice. It's just not possible. Not unless you want it to sound like some Dyson prototype. Or, it's not like, to be honest, even their full models are rubbish these days, aren't they? But, if you've used any AI, if you've used Canva's AI, you'll know how rubbish AI can be. You have to train it. And I'm sure you've heard people saying about that. You just got to train ChatGPT. I'm going to keep saying ChatGPT throughout this because it's the main one. It's like saying Google it, isn't it? But you have to train it. And it's not as easy, as I found out a little while ago, as many of us might think. And for those that think that AI is going to come for our jobs, if you're one of those, you may think as well that it's really easy to train AI. And it's not actually. It's not just a case of, look, I'm a virtual assistant, do this. So I could answer the title of this podcast like in a few seconds, but I just really want to help get my point across and to help alleviate any concerns that you might get or you might have. But allow me first to say one thing. If you are anti-AI, you might need to think about just freeing your mind a little bit and drop any preconceived ideas or the scaremongering that goes on when anything new is out there. I know people have been disparaging about it. I've read those posts and it's been predominantly on LinkedIn and also in the press as well. But AI will take all our jobs, and I'm the first to say that we always need to be realistic, always. Toxic positivity is the devil, but we do need to find out a little more before we see it as nothing more than the end of the world, because nothing ever is, really. I mean, fear, I know that fear often manifests out of not having an answer. When you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, this is real life here. This happened to me. I woke up, it was only 10:30. I'd gone to bed early, but I woke up at 10:30, went for a wee, and oh my God, I thought my lungs had collapsed. My back was really hurting. I thought maybe my kidneys had collapsed as well, along with my lungs, and also I had liver disease. I felt it was actually indigestion, but it took 2 hours to go, but I was making it worse because I was scared what was going on. But like I said, fear often manifests out of not having an answer. I didn't have kidney failure, you'll be pleased to hear, and neither of my lungs had collapsed, and the liver seems fine. But believing, like, we've never experienced anything like this before, and our world is just going to fall apart around us because we don't know what's going on. We don't know enough about it. So I just wanted as well for this podcast to just give you a little bit more information that you may already have, or I may help you on the journey to realizing that AI is not the end of us. Oh my God, imagine if it was, But we've all experienced those feelings of fear many times in our lives. Usually it happens throughout our late teens, 20s, when we start to realise that more and more of our life and our decisions are down to us. But, there's no one book that we enjoy reading that gives us advice. So every different situation demands a different approach, if you like. But we become anxious, scared, fearful, and sometimes it feels like the best way to cope with things is to just find a negative so that we can just dismiss it and blame it and just shut it away from our minds. And that's fine. I mean, I'm doing the same with Dubai chocolate. I'm not tasting it. I refuse to have any. But sometimes we need to find out a little more before we write something off. So if anybody does want to send me Dubai chocolate, the address is on Company's House. So now I have no idea whether AI will suddenly fall off a cliff like Clubhouse did. If you remember Clubhouse. Can't even say it anymore. But I really don't think so. I think it's being adopted in far too many ways, too many places, and it is making areas of the business world so much more accessible, which is a good thing. It's opening up opportunities for many who've struggled to thrive in business once upon a time. So, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, but let's look at how AI has already been in our lives. I remember doing a essay. Couldn't think of the word. I remember doing an essay when I was doing my teacher training, and I did it around emails and how it was changing communication. And I thought, I wonder when the first email was sent. And it was something like 1973. It's like, oh, bloody hell, you don't realise when things started. Now, AI has become huge. But after a little bit of research, the early live chat was first introduced in 1966. I mean, it didn't become sophisticated, that should be in inverted commas, until the 2000s. And yeah, I definitely should have put sophisticated in inverted commas, because even today it can be a pain in the arse, can't it? I mean, both of our cards, we got a joint account, and both of our cards weren't working over the local co-op. So it wouldn't work on our phone, like the touchless thing, and it wouldn't work if we put the card in with the pin, because sometimes you need to do that, don't you? So I did live chat with a robot. My card's not working. I'll give a bit more information, but yes, it is. It's not frozen, says the chat. Well, no, it's not. You put the wrong pin in. I've just checked. No, I didn't. All my card pins are the same, and it's a very memorable set of numbers. Chat, you can't have the same pin for all your cards. I just replied, look, I'm not 83. Can you unlock my card? It wasn't locked. And all of a sudden, the cards are working again. I did not put the wrong pin in because my partner's card wasn't working either. It still needs help or throttling. Actually, I'm going to give you a little tip here. You might already know this, but sometimes you can circumvent IA chat bots, like live chat, by just typing speak to agent or transfer to agent. It's worked a few times for me on different chats. They just put you through to a human being. But over time, the chats will improve. But how does it get that information? How does it know what to reply? Is it just clever? No, it has to be told what to reply. So, for example, if someone comes on and says their card's not working, then it has to have a set of answers to give to that, or maybe some more questions to get to the bottom of it. So if somebody was to type, my card's not working, it might come back with, have you tried chip and pin? And if they put yes, then it might say, oh, let me see if your card's frozen or something like that. But it has to have that information fed to it initially to be able to give those answers to whoever's on the live chat. Anyway, my point is, what ChatGPT and other AI systems have been given us has been around for years in different forms, and Google provides incredible information, some of which is absolute tosh, and other bits give us knowledge we'd have only previously gathered on a Tuesday, Wednesday morning, Thursday afternoon, Friday, and 2 hours on a Saturday by going to the library. But the information's always been out there. It's just now contained in a smaller place and a lot easier to find without, if you Google a symptom that you've got, my left toe is on my right foot is swollen, and you put it into Google, and the top results are always WebMD or something, and you've got incurable cancer. In fact, you should have been dead last Sunday. It's opened up whole new worlds. So when the internet was first released, there were concerns. I've Googled this, but there were concerns about how it could lead to loneliness and isolation. And in many ways, I'm sure it has for many people, but it's also opened up whole new worlds for people looking for events to go to, like community events, when they'd have previously sort of had to rely on looking at free magazines or, having to make a phone call to find out about things, or, people can much more easily access help if they've got any problems or want to connect with old friends. Do you remember, what was it called? Friends Reunited? Or for people like you and me to create a business and reach more people than we could ever have imagined without the internet. And the internet also made early adopters very, very rich. So I'm not saying you should have adopted AI back in 1966, but now is when it's getting big. So with almost everything comes positive and negative. There always is. And while I think that we're allowed to feel negativity sometimes, we mustn't let it overtake any dreams that we've got. It's not going to suddenly put the whole world out of business. And to just try and stop the negativity overtaking you, just stop interacting with those posts that say, AI will destroy the world. Disconnect from those people who are spending so much time complaining about AI. Sometimes I see the posts and I think, do you know what? You could actually be using this time to learn a bit more about AI, or to, think of some positive aspects, or perhaps earn some more money, find some more clients, or go to a spa if you just stop whinging for a second. But just get rid of the constant drain from your feed, because if you're interacting with that, or stopping and reading those posts, or maybe Googling for negative answers, that is all you're going to see. So I want this to start putting the positive into your feed a little bit more, and just get rid of that negative drain, because it's time to think about how AI might actually help you. It might help you get clients, expand your services, because I do really think it's going to be around a little longer and it's evolving very quickly. So the fear that a lot of VAs have is that they will lose clients, or there will no longer be a need for us. But here's what we're forgetting. There are already things readily available that replace the services that we provide as virtual assistants. I'm going to give you a few examples. So, that MailerLite account that you set up for client A, MailerLite has a whole help page on how to do it. There are hundreds of free videos as well on YouTube showing people how to do it. But that client asked you to do it, paid you to do it. Well, how about that inbox detox you did for client B, the one where you unsubscribed them from 500 newsletters? The client has use of both of their hands. They could have done it themselves, but they haven't got the time. As with the MailerLite account setup, they've not got the time to watch these videos. You know how to do it. It's much cheaper to get you to do it. Or about that other inbox detox you did for Bob, where you set up filters and labels so that future emails that didn't need immediate attention circumvented the inbox. He could have done that himself with a quick Google, but he can't. He's a technophobe. He can only open his emails once a week because he forgets the password. Or how about that client that, as you manage in her Facebook group to answer frequently asked questions for an extra 2 hours a week when she goes on holiday? She could have taken her laptop away, done it herself, and saved herself the money. But she chose not to. She wanted that holiday. She wants you to do it. She's more than happy. Or how about that client that asked you if you'll create 10 Canva graphics a month for them because they aren't that good with colours? They could have just used Canva templates and changed them to their brand colours with the click of a button. They know that. But they don't want to. They want you to do it. They don't want the stress of it. They don't want to be overthinking whether that shade of green looks all right with that shade of yellow. They don't want to do it. Each one of those clients either couldn't, wouldn't, or shouldn't be doing it themselves. So they seek us out. And ChatGPT is not going to stop that, because they've got to learn how to train ChatGPT. They've got to learn how to manipulate it. Fair enough. They can go on there and ask ChatGPT to go and write a load of social media posts for them. But I can guarantee everybody's going to look at them and think, why have you started using Zs instead of Ss? But not everyone, this already, not everyone has the capacity to do things themselves, whether it's time or headspace or actual ability to do and learn anything new. And, as a VA, you're someone who thinks with the clients as well. You help solve problems, you communicate clearly, and you see what they don't see because they're too busy in their business. ChatGPT and all the other AI systems are simply another resource for getting stuff done. They can't think for you. They can't see inside the business. They're not there every day communicating with you on the little things, not like you are with the client. So let's think about building the kind of VA business that can't be replaced. But first, let's go back to training AI, because I've said a little bit about that and how it's not just a case of telling it you're a virtual assistant and then saying, right, now write me 7 Facebook ads or something like that. I mean, it's just like you wouldn't go onto Google and Google something, find an article and copy and paste it and send it out as your own. You can't do that with ChatGPT either. The results that it comes back with aren't going to sound like you unless it's trained. It will be full of words that you don't use unless you train it. and it'll include emojis that only my mother uses on replies to text, unless you train it. ChatGPT, not your mum, not my mum. She's beyond training. I know you're listening to this, mum, as well. And like I said, it'll have Zs instead of Ss in places. You guessed it, unless you train it. And you may be surprised how easy it can be to train it if you know how. And I'll be sharing something you're going to love in a minute. You're going to love it. But is a little bit more about training the process, because AI doesn't magically know how to sound like you. It can't read my mind. It can't read your mind. I think that update is due for release in 2050. Lying. With ChatGPT, you still have to tell it your tone of voice, and you may not even know your tone of voice yet, right? You've got to tell it what your language is, your preferred language. You've got to tell it perhaps dialect differences. I use cuz instead of because. It's just how I talk. You've got to give it context. You've got to tell it about you. Like I said a minute ago, I'm a virtual assistant. It's just too vague, even as a LinkedIn headline. So ChatGPT is going to be like, yeah, a virtual assistant. But, most of all, you need to know how to train it, how to tell it. Now, it's not like talking to your 83-year-old relative whose Facebook profile picture always seems to be upside down. There's a special kind of language for AI and ChatGPT. A special way of telling it things to help it get to know your unique self, so that any outputs are as if you wrote them. It's so like you that you think, do you know what? Why hadn't I found this years ago? Why have I been worried about marketing or been stuck looking at a blank page for like 3 hours and still not come up with any content for social media? I know. It's all kind of making sense now. But you, like I say, you can't just open ChatGPT and say like, hey bitch, write me a month's content about how I can save clients time and money. Well, you could, but I guarantee it would be even harder to read than an article in Caravan Weekly, because it won't sound authentic. It won't sound like you. It will have more rocket emojis than NASA, and probably the use of the word unlock millions of times. So while everyone's screaming, AI will take your job, here's the twist. Most clients don't have time to figure it out. They need you to train it for them. They need you to act as the bridge between ideas and execution. Doosh. I need a hangman there. Doosh. Maybe add a sound effect of the chopper going down there. Anyway, here's the best bit, right? Because I'm so excited to share this, but I've actually made a massive faux pas. I only realised when I was thinking about this podcast, but I've created an 8-step course to teach you how to use ChatGPT to create your social media content as if it's you. I say that again. I've created an 8-step course to teach you how to use ChatGPT to create your social media content as if it's you. I know, right? Hello. Yeah, I did just say stop worrying about marketing. I did just say make your marketing easier than, I don't know, what's easy? Putting your shoes on. It's just crazy, actually. Now, here's my massive faux pas, which I can't seem to undo. But what I didn't actually realise when I wrote the course was that it not only teaches you to train ChatGPT how to write your social media posts, but while you're learning how to do that with the course, you're also learning so much about how to train ChatGPT that I'm giving you skills that you can do with your own and future clients. I know. You can actually start creating social media content for your bloody clients as well. I need to think about the price. I won't mention the price on here, because they'll just all go off and get it. But yeah, I've called it How to Train ChatGPT to Write Your Social Media Posts as If It's You. Now, the course is short and simple, unlike the title of it, and it's packed with exact prompts, that's a word you'll learn, strategies and techniques that I use to make AI feel like a content assistant. Yeah, I've had my team test it for me in exchange for the course for free, perks of the job. And I'm going to put a bit of their feedback on the sales page, which is linked in the show notes. So my advice is to go and grab it while it's still at the early bird price. catherinegladwyn.co.uk/AI. I didn't think this through. But let me tell you this, you're not getting replaced. You're becoming essential. And I've just given them a new service. What a dick. If you're ready to reclaim your independence, then subscribe to this podcast, because there is so much I'm going to give you. You've got to subscribe on your favourite channel, it says. What channel? Is it? I ain't going to be on the BBC, am I?